Hello, this is my video podcast to explain all the different aspects of the games industry. We will be covering examples of businesses in the games industry, a few different types of jobs in the games industry, groups which are there to improve and develop the industry, legal problems and ethics which a game designer must think about first. So, first up is SOE, or Sony Online Entertainment, which is a development studio and a publisher. As it is both a development studio and a publisher, it has many different departments in it, which include programming, artists, animation and 3D modelling, IT, engineering, marketing and PR, design, production, quality assurance and distribution. Because it has a large amount of departments, it has a large amount of people working for them. They have around 500 employees in the business. I must note this is only an estimation as I was unable to find a solid number. But either way, if I'm correct or not, it's still a large company, and so the structure of the organisation is probably a standard hierarchy, which to describe simply means that the person at the top will tell the two people under him what to do, and they will tell the two people under each one of them what to do, then those four people will do the same. Of course, it doesn't have to just be the two people, they could have more, but I just used two just to demonstrate what I was talking about. But the overall shape of it will be shaped like a triangle. So, who owns them and where are they based? Well, as you might suspect, SOE is owned by Sony. Funny enough, their HQ is based in San Diego, California, USA, and their second office is in Austin, Texas, USA, which only deals with one of their products, which is DC Universe Online, which they developed and published. Whereas their HQ has developed and published PlanetSide, PlanetSide 2, and EverQuest 2. They were involved with the original EverQuest, but they only published it. It was Sony's 989 Studios which made it. Now we move on to our second company, Firaxis Games. Firaxis Games are a development studio, and as they are only a development studio, they don't have as many departments as SOE. But the departments they do have are programming, artists, animation and 3D modelling, IT, engineering, design and quality assurance. Again, as they don't have as many departments as SOE, they only have around 120 employees, which is still a large amount of employees. And because of this number, I would say they also too have a standard hierarchy. So, I'll ask the same question. Who owns them and where are they based? Well, 2K Games is their parent company, which means that 2K owns enough of their voting stock to control management and operation by electing or influencing the board of directors. Firaxis Games only have one office, which is based in Sparks, Maryland, USA, and from this office they have produced games like Sid Meier's Civilization and XCOM. Now we move on to the second section, which is looking at a few different types of jobs in the industry. First up is a game designer. So, what does a game designer do? Well, they plan all the elements of the games, like setting, structure, rules, story, characters, objectives, props, and interface. Then they will communicate with the rest of the development team who create it from the information that they have given them. A games designer job is very important. It gives the project a clear image of what to do. Because the job isn't just focused on one area, they need a wide range of skills, which include good written and verbal communication skills, critical thinking, level design from an arts background, a basic psychology understanding, a team player, maths and programming skills, and the knowledge about the games industry. There are some things that are expected from a professional designer, which are working to a brief, able to share ideas with the team, and being careful with the copyright when making something. Now I say it's best to give you some examples of some game designers, starting off Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima is best known for the Metal Gear series. He started out by joining Konami's MSX home computer division in 1986 as a designer and planner. The first game he worked on was called Penguin Adventure as assistant director. He'd be later asked to take over the project, which was Metal Gear. Then after that he would work on Snatcher, which was inspired by a sci-fi film. Then move on to the 1990s, he was involved in two products, a spin-off of Snatcher called SD Snatcher and the sequel to Metal Gear titled Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. And in 1998 released Metal Gear Solid, which was highly regarded for its well-designed gameplay and for its characters and storylines. From this he would go on to work on more of the Metal Gear series and become what we know today. Now let me move on to another well-respected designer, Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux has worked on a range of games. His best known work includes Dungeon Keeper, Populous, Black and White, the Fable series, and his more recent game, Goddess. Peter Molyneux began his career in 1982 by distributing and selling floppy disks which contain video games for the Atari and Commodore 64. He believed that including games on the disc would improve sales, and later decided that the games were the main selling point. He created the Entrepreneur text-based business simulator game about running a business. In those days you could literally call a game Space Blob Attacks Mars and sell about 50 million copies. So what did I do? I did a business simulator, Molyneux later said. Molyneux published the game himself in 1984 by duplicating hundreds of copies on 2 Tandy Corporation recorders after taking an advertising space in a games magazine. He prepared for the game's success. He later stated in an interview, "I was utterly convinced that this game would sell tons. I thought, this letterbox is just not big enough. It's just not going to fit all the envelopes. So I cut, and this is no joke, I cut a bigger letterbox." However, the game received only 2 orders, which Molyneux suspected one of them was from his mother. Molyneux later would go on to found Bullfrog Productions in 1987, which provided the concept for Populous, the first good game for the personal computer. Released in 1989, Populous was a major success, selling over 4 million copies. Molyneux's last project at Bullfrog was Dungeon Keeper, which was released in 1997 to high critical praise. These are 2 examples of game designers who have made it far in the industry, and they have done very well for themselves. So what is the average pay for a game designer? Well, they work office hours, which is around 40 to 44 hours a week, with a salary of $87,000 or £53,400. Our next job is concept artist. A concept artist takes someone's ideas and draws a picture of it so that a 3D modeler can make it, or they draw an environment and then hand it over to someone who can then turn that drawing into something that the player can run around. A concept artist's expected skills are qualifications in studied art, which includes drawing, painting, sculpture, photography, and art history. Of course, if your skills are good in art, you may not need a qualification, as the employer is more interested in your work and not your qualifications. But what is expected is an understanding of anatomy and architecture, the ability to understand what a designer wants from a scene, the ability to visually interpret another person's ideas and turn them into a clear image, the ability to be flexible and adapt work quickly when required, good communication skills, and the ability to work as an individual as well as in a team. A professional is expected to work to a brief and able to translate what the designer wants. A well-known concept artist is Jamie Jones. He has worked for Warner Brothers, Bungie, Blizzard, and NCSoft. He left college in 2006 to begin work as a concept artist in the Settlin area, first at AreaNet and then later for Bungie. Another well-known artist is Craig Mullins. He has worked on Halo 2, Mass Effect 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Bioshock 2, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and Fallout 3. He went to Pitt Star College in Callamore, California for 2 years and then studied at Art Center College of Design to study product design and illustrations. He started out as a transportation designer and got a job at Ford in Detroit. There he discovered that his design sense was a little bit extreme for the cars industry, so he returned to the Art Center to study illustrations, where he got his BFA in 1990s, and since then he has worked on many projects and concept arts, illustrations, and matte paintings. Again, these are very good concept artists, and the better you are, the better you get paid. So for the average concept artist, they get a salary of around $61,000 or £37,400. Of course, this depends on their skill, and their work hours depend on them. Some artists will work office hours, and some artists won't stop working. Now we move on to the final job we are looking at, and that is a community manager. A community manager's job is to deal with the problems within a community of a game. For example, if someone is being abused by a group of people, it's their job to take action to stop it. If an argument has erupted, it's their job to settle it. The clue is in the name. They manage the community so everyone has fun playing their game. So what kind of skills are needed? Well, strong communication skills, good judgment, empathy, detection, organisation skills, adaptability, level-headed attitude, the ability to enable the community, passion for the brand, and general IT knowledge. Some things you will notice with professional community managers is that they are very level-headed. They use non-offensive behaviour. They will enter discussion with a non-biased opinion. They will be good at getting the community together and getting them involved with the game. For example, they may ask the players what they want to see from the game. Now I would show you some well-known community managers, but there really aren't any. The only way you will know of a community manager is because you've been part of that community, and if you haven't, you won't know them. But for the people that have known those community managers, they will mean a lot to them. But I will still talk about one community manager, and that is Margaret Crone. She is a community manager for PlanetSide 2, or was, as she has now left SOE. As an avid gamer, Margaret has become well known in various gaming communities. Her debut was on Vanguard's Sage of Heroes, where she co-hosted a podcast called Voyages of Vanguard. Soon after, she began her work in quality assurance at Sony Online Entertainment. After a short endeavour in quality assurance, her design theory and game knowledge was quickly picked up and brought onto the Free Realms World Design team, where she wrote lore, quests, and helped shape the classes and world of Free Realms. Well known among Sony Online for being a original PlanetSide player, Margaret was pulled onto the PlanetSide 2 team, where she helped launch the AAA free-to-play MMO FPS as a game designer. After the game release, she joined the SOE community team as a PlanetSide 2 community manager and then moved on to become the community manager on EverQuest 2, helping build and manage Sony Online Entertainment's gaming community. And so, that final question comes around one more time. What are they paid like? Well, they get a salary of around $49,000 or £28,800, and a community manager never stops working. They work around the clock, dealing with other people's problems and dealing with bitchy people. God bless all those community managers. Section 3 is about professional bodies which improve and support the games industry. First up is the United Kingdom Interactive Entertainment, or the UKIE for short. They are a group for game developers and interactive entertainment industries. Businesses in these industries can join them to get support, grow and promote themselves. This group offers a collective voice for the games industry so they can make their voice be heard and offer their members benefits. For example, they offer discounts on products and services for businesses. They run campaigns to change and help the games industry. They speak with the government and MPs to make good things happen and to stop the bad things from happening. They help to connect you with other games businesses. They offer you value for money, access to services that you need to protect your IP. They offer members discounted access to unique UK sales data and detailed reports that give you valuable market intelligence and insight, and they offer support and advice. Next is TIGA, which is a group for game developers and publishers. Their vision is to make the UK the best place in the world to do games businesses. To achieve their vision and mission, they focus on delivering 3 strategic objectives: political campaigning, profile raising, and helping out their members commercially. This means that the TIGA members are effectively represented in the corridors of power, their voice is heard in the media, and they receive commercial benefits, including a reduction in costs and improving business opportunities. IGDA is another group to help the games industry. They offer adversity, making changes in our industries by identifying and speaking out on key issues, networking and community, connecting members with their peers both geographically and financially, professional development, promoting our craft, international reach, expanding the global community of the games developers. Women in Games, again, is another group to help the games industry. Their aims are to provide a voice for women and men in the games industry and in game education, with interest in supporting and encouraging the role of women in games, supporting research into games and games culture, game education, games industry, games technology and other games related areas, especially but not exclusively with reference to the experience of women playing, developing and responding to games and games culture. They wish to provide a network opportunity for women and men working in the games industry and research game-related areas. Their objectives are to hold regular Women in Games conferences and events, support events and conferences that promote the Women in Games aims, provide information and relative links on Women in Games websites, provide online opportunities in forums blog for women in the games related discussions, and supporting individuals and projects that further the Women in Games aims. The BAFTAs. The BAFTAs were given to all sorts of medias apart from games for a long amount of time, but now games are receiving BAFTAs, which means that we have been taken more seriously and we are being put in a better light as people from other medias are seeing us as more of an art form and not just as a toy for kids. PEGI and ESRB, these are age rating systems to help people make informed decisions on games. It informs the buyer what it contains with the age rating system. For PEGI, which is the European age rating system, it uses 3, 7, 12, 16 and 18, and other things to inform the buyer of more in-depth content, which includes violence, bad language, fear, sex, drugs, discrimination, gambling and online play. The ESRB, which is the USA age rating system, uses E for everyone, EC for early childhood, E10 plus for everyone 10 and up, T for teen, M for mature 17 and up, AO for adults only. Section 4 is about employment ethics and legal obligations. In this section we're going to talk about employment contracts, NDAs, license agreements, development and collaboration agreements, so lots of business stuff. So what is an employment contract? It is an agreement between an employer and an employee which sets out the employment rights, responsibilities and duties, as well as any benefits, who owns any inventions, and will agree to a non-compete clause. This means that the employee agrees not to enter into or start a similar profession or trade in competition against another party. It will also mention confidentiality, e.g. what information is not allowed to leave the business. The terms and conditions of the employment contract will also be confidential. NDAs, or confidentiality agreements, is a legal contract between at least two parties that outlines confidential material, knowledge or information that the party wish to share with one another for certain purposes, but wish to restrict access to or by third parties. In the case of a games industry, employees will be asked to sign it so they don't leak any information to the public about their game or anything they're working on. License agreements are a legal contract between two parties, known as the licensor and the licensee. In it, the licensor grants the licensee the rights to produce and sell goods, apply a brand name or a trademark, or use patented technology owned by the licensor. An example of this in the games industry is when a film studio lets a game developer make a game of one of their films. Development agreement is a contract between a local jurisdiction and the person who has ownership or control of a property within the jurisdiction. The purpose of it is to specify the strands and conditions that will govern development of a property. Collaboration agreements is an agreement between two or more researchers that set forth the nature of their work relationships in a research project. Their agreement may include provisions concerning the intent of the parties to share data, research material and facilities, and to publish research findings. It doesn't have to be researchers to use this though. In the games industry, if more than one developer wishes to make something together, then they will use a collaboration agreement to set forth the rules and regulations of their collaboration. Now we move on to the fifth and final section, ethics and legal protection. First is ethics. This is the moral principle that governs a person's behaviour or the condition of an activity. Ethics has to do with what my feelings tell me is right and wrong. Violence. You need to be careful when using this. Some people may get offended, and some people may think that what you're saying is violence is good, and some people may be influenced by the violence that you put in your game. Addiction, again, may offend some people, and you may take it a step too far and disturb people, and some people, again, may be influenced by what you show them and do in your game or any form of media. Stereotyping, again, may offend some people, and it may influence some people to believe that's how those kind of people really are, and they may go on to further offend other people. Now, last but certainly not least is the legal programs that are there to protect people's products. There are 3 things that a business can use to protect their products: copyright, trademarks, and patents. Copyright is the legal rights created by a law of a country that grants the creator of an original work exclusive rights to its use and distribution, usually for a limited time, with the intent of enabling the creator to receive compensation for their intellectual efforts. A trademark is like copyright but used on a recognizable sign, design, and expression or a logo, which identifies a product or service of a particular source from those of others. For example, a lot of companies will trademark their logo so no one can use something similar and get their 2 companies confused. A patent is a set of exclusive rights granted by a sovereign state to an invention for a limited period of time in exchange for detailed public disclosure of the invention. And now we will talk about an IP, or intellectual property. These are the creations of the mind. Your IP is your idea, e.g. a game you have come up with. You use copyright, trademarks, and /or patents to protect your IP, i.e. your idea. And there you have it. That was my video podcast covering a few parts of the games industry. I hope you found it useful, or at the very least, entertaining to watch. And from this I will say farewell.